the family of former President Muhammadu Buhari. As you know, great cover there from This Day newspaper. For us, I guess in the business section, it's to, review his policies. And if you look at economic growth during his time, yeah, so he had, he averaged 1.5% GDP growth. Now, of course, in 2015, Jonathan handed over to him. In 2023, he handed over to President Tinubu. So if you X out those years, he actually averaged about 1.1, because he had, of course, a recession in 2016 and 2020. On the good side, if you look at the policies that at least he, tried to put forward, he signed the Petroleum Industry Act, prioritized, rail infrastructure, Warri, Itakpe, and all those other places. Pursued the Siemens deal. Didn't really get us where we were trying to go, but at least he kicked it off. We should have added it. I think PEBEC was put forward under his tenure, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. The Anchors Borrowers Program had good intentions, trying to get, liquidity over to farmers, even though there were issues with, defaults here and there. And then you get to the troublesome side, right? The bad, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that kind of outweighs the good. So, the recessions maybe weren't really his fault, because in 84, oil prices tanked. It was the same thing in 2015. 2020 was COVID. But the fuel subsidies, according to NATI, the extractive industries body, he spent about 12.4 trillion on fuel subsidies between 2015 and 2022. Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Jonathan combined between 1999 and 2014 spent 8.6 trillion. So he outspent all of them. There was, of course, the fixed exchange rates, which caused FX scarcity. People couldn't get access. The rate wasn't realistic. Banks stopped honoring transactions on debit cards. There was the botched currency swap. We all remember how that's impacted people. In fact, in 2015, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said that 227 businesses closed. About 222 were SMEs, another 50 or so were, if you add 270 or so, 50 of them were manufacturing companies. About 4.5 million jobs were lost. You got the Ways and Means, which as of March of 2023, right before President Tinubu took over, that was at 27.5 trillion. Debt service to revenue ratio peaked at 111%, because he was borrowing so much to maintain the electricity subsidies, fuel subsidies, foreign exchange subsidies, and so on. Then don't forget when he closed the borders, trying to boost manufacturing of food in Nigeria, and that just spiked inflation. He banned Twitter when, he didn't like what they said, when he took down a tweet of his. That was under Jack Dorsey's tenure before Elon Musk took over for 7 months, which impacted e-commerce businesses and folks that were trying to, sell. So, look, the numbers just speak for themselves. It is what it is, and it's at this point we're still trying to recover from some of that.
That's Buhari. Buhari tanked the economy. Rutus, let's not deceive ourselves. He put us in a lot of quagmire where we are. He put us in so much quagmire that the succeeding APC government blames it rightfully for all that happened. Look at the Anchor Borrowers scheme. Yeah, good intention. After rice pyramid, what next?
Yeah.
That was when we had the concept of political farmers. Look at the needless recessions. You didn't state what caused those recessions.
Well, it was oil prices and COVID.
It was not oil prices, Rotus.
Partly.
The first slump of recession, I think that was around 2016. 2016-ish. Was because he came in 2015 for 6 months. He didn't even have minister. He had no directions.
That's true.
That was what caused the recession. It was a do-it-yourself recession. So there was no way to be able to plan and buffer economically. He didn't have ministers. He didn't have anything. The crude oil price too now came on top of it.
Yeah.
That was when we get a facility to now defend our currency. You remember, he first started with a float that he couldn't back up.
Right.
Those were bad economic policies. Then when that float started hurting us, that the Naira was going to close to 500, he then now looked for money, defended back to about 306, found a level. At some point, they now allowed to free float again up to 360. They now started hedging at that point. So a lot of Taco Buhari, changing his mind back and forth, but we give him his tributes, his past today. I just hope leaders that are coming at the back also learn from all of this. Yeah. He inherited a healthy economy from Jonathan, and he tanked it.
He did.
Took the economy, Olule. Sad.
I think it's tough with economics to sometimes make a convergence between good intentions and the consequences of those intentions. Because, when I think about his economic legacy, I'm speaking about the former president, the late former president, Muhammadu Buhari, I always think about Buy Nigeria. And I think Buy Nigeria because it echoes what so many countries around the world have attempted to do, some successfully, some not as much. So if you think of, for example, Proudly South African, that works incredibly well, which is how the South African government has created an agency to ensure that people prioritize buying South African goods above other goods. And that's a very successful campaign. But when you see it in other countries, there's varying levels of success. Now, with Buy Nigerian and with closing the borders and just trying to get some sort of resurgence with production in the Nigerian economy, again, on paper, all brilliant concepts on paper, but when you translate to the realities of what happens in Nigeria, it's question mark, question mark. And so I bring this up to say that I wish that I'm looking forward to a time where homegrown African or global South economists' voices can dominate. Because to date, the prescriptions that we take are largely created by people who are studying in Boston or Harvard or, wherever you name it. And they don't really relate to some of the realities that we have on the ground. There's a disconnect, which is why even you see with the current administration, intention, always good, but the consequences and how it translates always sort of translates in varying degrees and with varying outcomes. So I think in this case, when you look at Africa, your South Africa is an outlier. Rwanda, for example, is an outlier. They're outliers. But generally, when African countries try to support and create systems that encourage local production for local consumption, the result is always varied. And I think it's because there are aspects that we're not getting right.